Hello traders, this is a DAX recap video for Monday, October the 22nd, and this is the chart given with the email update number 1, and the zones chart for the CFD is made at 704, and this zone 190 to 200 was identified as the first important zone for us. That was main support number 1 from Friday, and also on Friday it was an axis zone, keeping both support at first, providing support at first, and later resistance in for a few times. Now we also had a pre-market ramp. That's the thing when the market makes a down move, and then in the environment of lower liquidity, you got the pullback on a low volume, and as was written here, that kind of pre-market ramp is usually the one to be faded first. So first move, you expect the market participants to fade such a move. If they don't fade it, it's a similar concept like inventory correction, and we had that as well since market opened above the previous cash close. So if market just continues in this case higher, then all of those pre-market participants are right, and market is usually strong, and buyers are turning the tide into their advantage. However, the thing to do is at first to fade such a move, because likely you are going to get reaction. As said before, first important inflection point for today, and I was tweeting about that as well. In the charting blog, we had the plan what needs to be done by the market for downside continuation, what to for continuation higher, and this is a holiday week, so we could get some good moves tomorrow as well, then a slow down from Wednesday, and nothing much on Thursday and Friday. So we shall see. It's an idea, and let the market, prove otherwise. And as always, when we observe the zones, there are going to be some better zones, like this one, like this one, like this one, and then there are going to be some zones in between, which are regular zones and which also can be strengthened with another references. In this case, for example, you have a previous cash close there. So if market makes a pullback to it, that's going to be the pullback attractive for gap fill buyers to react there, and then we are going to gauge that kind of pullback strength of it, and so on. So fade or false break was the first setup for us. We got the poke above this zone right at the open. It spoke just of a few points, and that was also one of the things said before. Those pokes that don't have any kind of follow through, that's the ones to fade as well. Then for buyers, they could react on a gap fill. This macro must work fast. Fades of the S1 and S2 zones. Now I'm going to show you now the setups. I have also marked all of them already to keep this video shorter. And as always, some of the setups we can plan well in advance, while for others we need to be able to read the real-time market read. So this is prepared in advance. Setup is fade or false break. So fade was right at 730, because that was the, as said before, the zone that was here providing support and a few times resistance. It was axis zone from Friday, and it would be a very logical thing to get something from it today as well. This was a 30-pointer move in the pre-market session. This was a poke right at the open, this first one. I have showed you my entry point. My entry point was with the resting order, and that's the thing that you can always do on better zones. And here market was diddling for a while inside this 30-point range, but at the end they rolled down, and we had here a secondary entry point to get involved on the short side. Gap fill buyers. Here I missed to place the mark for it. So gap fill buyers from the zone, and also when a market fail to to make a gap fill like here. So this is a 5-minute chart and this is 9.25. They didn't fill the gap in this down. The gap was left unfilled for 2 points. Filling the gaps, you need to look at that on the real-time chart of DAX index, of cash index, and for pre-market low and for pre-market high you need to have the futures chart. All of those references are going to be derived to the CFD chart and also to the futures chart. So charts are given for CFDs and for futures. But here gap fill buyers reacted and there was nothing much really there. And also this was a classic false break of the pre-market low setup, which produced just a lower high and rolling down. Here we could also observe a few things like this: marginally higher high that leads nowhere, going down, or here marginally lower low that again produces some bounce, but again with the lower high. So by this time here, what did we had? We had a down day behind our back and the price which just continues to grind lower from the open, on which we had a bearish setup and a move down toward the cash close. So inventory correction is done. We had a bounce here, again lower high, rolling down, bounce, lower high, weak bounce, rolling down. So this is the first test of the S1 zone. That's the one that we should fade automatically. And here with the resting order in the middle of the zone you couldn't even get a fill. This was really nothing much, and here they roll down again from the previous cash close, which here served as support and here served as resistance, and again here served as resistance. Now aggressive sellers would either go in with a sell or better to add on existing selling position on any of these three entry points. They could add like here, because here in this point in time it's unrealistic now to believe after two bounces with the lower highs and rolling down price action that the price is going to bounce and make the low of the day on the third test. Why they didn't do that on the first test, or at least on the second? So with that in mind, you could add smaller mark here for add-ons. You could add on it, aiming toward Friday RTH low and toward the lower support zone. What's this? Yet again false break, marginally lower low. This here remains to be a RTH low of the day. This is DAX cash index. So you can see how here on cash index DAX had a marginal lower low and a bounce. On futures we had a kind of lower low. So this was a really good bounce for buyers. Sellers already again reacted here, and at the end they pushed higher. And what's this here? This is reaction from the broken support zone now turning into resistance, and now and in this period of time a bit cautionary approach. You wait for it, you wait for the rolling down price action. You could also make a trend line like this, and the entry points would be below the previous cash close and below the pre-market low. So this is the pre-market range. Market rejected the price from entering into the pre-market range, because aggressive buyers could even take along here with the idea, okay, market is going inside the pre-market range. They could go even toward the pre-market high, but realistically speaking they should do this here on the first attempt, not here. And when you make a fib on that point in time, this was the RTH move. If you make a fib like this, you could also observe where the 61.8 was, and it was right at the broken support zone and the previous cash close. So those two references now presents resistance, and thus we are having here the entry points for a short. Then price moving down below the low of the day, below the Friday RTH low. But what's this? This is a 5-minute chart, and you have a huge rejection tail at this point in time. So wait a bit. This is the ordinary zone. Wait a bit and you could enter long like here, or Alternatively, here again, so now again price is above the Friday RTH low, so you could go long there. And also here make a fib again on the whole RTH move like this, and you could do it on higher time frames as well. Look at this. Ta-da! 61.8. Very late for DAX, 9:10 p.m. And all of the things that happens right from this line, this is the New York Stock Exchange Open, has everything to do with the S&P, because S&P here 5:55 Central European time, they had a big bounce. DAX had a big bounce, and DAX also had here a setup. What is this? Yet another false break below the zone, moving higher, and here are the said long setups. Let's go to the S&P to observe what are they doing now, and also to observe here 5:55. I'm sorry, this is the DAX futures. Here is the 5:55 on S&P. Now they are going down. Yeah, fib on that index. Ta-da! So sell is like here, and now selling into the close. So we should see what's going to happen on DAX tomorrow. We have now 3 days on the downside connected with not so fluid price action for sellers. We actually had quite two-sided activity here, but again, sellers were the dominant side here. Sellers were the ones making these lower highs and at the end lower lows, although marginally, but still sellers are currently the dominant side. However, on any bigger dip, we are still expecting buyers to react. Check the charting blog if you didn't do so already. And that would be it for this edition of DAX Weekly Videos. As always, I wish you a pleasant evening and good trading.